Right now, there is a very good chance the Social Security Administration is holding money that legally belongs to you. Not because you failed to qualify, not because anyone accused you of doing something wrong, and not because your claim was denied. In many cases, it comes down to something much simpler than that. A single form was never filed. A single question was never asked. A single benefit category was never requested. Most people assume that when they apply for Social Security, the government automatically reviews every benefit they qualify for and enrolls them in the highest available payment. It sounds logical. After all, the Social Security Administration already has your work history, your earnings record, and many of your personal details. Surely the system would tell you if there were additional benefits available. But that is not how the system works. Thousands of retirees spend years collecting less than they are legally entitled to receive simply because no one told them another application existed. Every month that passes is another month of income that never reaches their bank account. And in many situations, the law limits how much of that money can ever be recovered. That is why this conversation matters. My name is Clara Maynes, and for many years I have helped retirees understand the federal rules surrounding Social Security benefits and other government programs. One pattern appears over and over again. The people who lose the most money are usually not careless. They are not trying to cheat the system. They are not ignoring important paperwork. They are responsible people who worked hard, paid taxes for decades, and believed the application they completed covered everything they were entitled to receive. Unfortunately, that assumption can become one of the most expensive mistakes a retiree ever makes. I have spoken with widows who unknowingly received hundreds of dollars less every month for years. I have met married couples who discovered one overlooked application could have increased their monthly household income substantially. I have also seen retirees who learned about an available benefit only after the legal deadline to recover most of the missed payments had already passed. Those are difficult conversations because there is usually nothing anyone can do once certain filing windows close. Today's goal is to help you avoid becoming one of those stories. We're going to walk through some of the most commonly overlooked Social Security benefit categories, explain why they are missed so often, and discuss the forms and questions that many retirees never realize they should ask about. Toward the end of this video, I'll also share a simple 5-step checklist that can help you organize your own records before speaking with Social Security. Stay with me until the end because the final section covers one of the most time-sensitive opportunities available to certain retirees, and missing that deadline can permanently affect your monthly income. Before we begin, take a quick look at the date on your most recent Social Security benefit statement. If it has been months since you've reviewed it, this is a good time to have it nearby. You do not need to understand every number today, but having it in front of you will make the explanations much easier to follow. Now let's start with something that surprises almost everyone. Many people believe eligibility automatically creates payment. It doesn't. Those are two completely different things. Under the Social Security Act, qualifying for a benefit and actually receiving that benefit are separate legal steps. You may satisfy every eligibility requirement for a particular benefit, yet receive nothing because no application was ever submitted for that category. That distinction catches people off guard. Imagine qualifying for a scholarship, but never completing the acceptance paperwork. The scholarship exists, you qualify, but the money is never sent because the required process was never completed. Social Security often works in a similar way. The administration processes the applications people submit. It generally does not search every file looking for every possible benefit a person might qualify to receive. That responsibility usually remains with the applicant. This is why retirees sometimes discover years later that another benefit category existed all along. The system wasn't hiding it. It simply wasn't automatically applied. According to analyses of Social Security data and retirement experts who regularly assist beneficiaries, billions of dollars in benefits go unclaimed each year. Some retirees eventually correct the issue and increase their monthly income by several $100s. Others discover the opportunity after important retroactive filing limits have already expired. That is why understanding these categories matters sooner rather than later. One of the largest areas of confusion in VE. For many people, losing a spouse is one of the most difficult experiences they will ever face. In the weeks and months that follow, most families are focused on funeral arrangements, legal paperwork, estate matters, and simply learning how to move forward after an enormous personal loss. Very few people are thinking about whether every possible Social Security benefit has been claimed correctly. That is completely understandable. Unfortunately, the Social Security rules do not pause simply because life becomes overwhelming. Deadlines continue to move forward. Filing windows continue to close. And every month that passes can affect how much income a surviving spouse ultimately receives. This is why survivor benefits deserve special attention. Many retirees mistakenly believe that when one spouse dies, Social Security automatically replaces the existing payment with whatever benefit is highest. That assumption sounds reasonable. After all, the agency is notified of the death in many situations. It already has the earnings records for both spouses. Surely the system would know which benefit should now be paid. But once again, that is not always how the process works. Under federal law, survivor benefits are separate from retirement benefits. In many situations, they require their own application and their own review. Receiving one type of benefit does not necessarily trigger another. That distinction has resulted in countless widows and widowers collecting far less than they legally qualified to receive. Let me introduce you to someone we'll call Margaret. Margaret spent most of her working life as a bookkeeper. She and her husband Thomas were married for 43 years. Thomas worked in manufacturing and consistently earned a higher salary throughout his career. When Margaret turned 63, she decided to begin receiving her own retirement benefit. Like many retirees, she wanted the additional income and assumed she had made the appropriate decision based on the information available at the time. A few years later, Thomas passed away unexpectedly. During one of the most emotional periods of her life, Margaret notified the necessary agencies, completed numerous forms, and believed everything had been handled correctly. Her monthly Social Security payment continued arriving. Because the deposits never stopped, she naturally assumed she was receiving whatever benefit she was entitled to. Nearly 3 years later, while attending a community workshop for seniors, the speaker explained survivor benefits. Margaret listened carefully. Several details sounded familiar. After the presentation, she asked whether someone who had already been collecting retirement benefits should still ask about survivor benefits. The presenter encouraged her to contact Social Security directly. When Margaret met with a representative, her file was reviewed. It turned out she qualified for a substantially larger survivor benefit based on her late husband's earnings history. No one had intentionally withheld the information. The agency had processed the benefit that had been requested. The survivor benefit had never been separately evaluated because it had never been formally claimed. Margaret's monthly payment increased dramatically once the correction was made. The additional income helped her remain in her home without having to make difficult financial decisions. But there was another reality she hadn't expected. Some of the missed payments from previous years could no longer be recovered because of the rules governing retroactive benefits. Although she received an increase going forward, thousands of dollars that could have supported her during those earlier years were permanently lost. Stories like Margaret's explain why timing matters just as much as eligibility. The law contains limits on how far back certain benefit adjustments may reach. Many retirees assume that if a mistake is discovered later, the government simply sends a large check covering every missed month. Sometimes that happens within legal limits. Often it does not. Specific rules determine how much retroactive payment is allowed, and once those windows close, they generally cannot be reopened simply because someone was unaware of the benefit. That is why waiting to ask questions can become so expensive. Every month feels small while it is happening. A few $100s here, several $100s there. It doesn't seem life-changing at first. But retirement is measured in years. A difference of $500 every month becomes $6,000 over 1 year. Continue that for 10 years, and the difference reaches $60,000 before considering annual cost of living adjustments. Increase that monthly gap to $800 or even $1,000, and the numbers become even more significant. That is why overlooking one benefit category can quietly reshape an N. Let's talk about one of the most misunderstood decisions in the entire Social Security system: the age at which you decide to claim your retirement benefit. If you ask a group of retirees why they filed when they did, you'll hear all kinds of answers. Some will tell you they claimed at 62 because they wanted to enjoy retirement while they were still healthy. Others will say they needed the income after leaving work. Some simply believed they were supposed to apply as soon as they became eligible. Very few will tell you they carefully compared the long-term financial impact of every available claiming strategy. That is not because people are irresponsible. It is because the rules are complex, and most retirees are making an important financial decision without fully understanding how much it can affect their future income. One of the first things to understand is that becoming eligible to claim a retirement benefit does not necessarily mean that claiming immediately is the best financial decision. For many people, the amount they receive depends heavily on when they begin collecting benefits. If benefits are claimed before full retirement age, monthly payments are generally reduced. If benefits are delayed beyond full retirement age, up to age 70, delayed retirement credits may increase the monthly benefit. These increases can become meaningful over the course of a long retirement. Imagine two neighbors who worked similar careers and earned nearly identical wages throughout their lives. The first neighbor claims benefits as soon as possible because retirement sounds appealing and the extra income feels helpful. The second neighbor decides to continue working for several more years and delays claiming. By the time both reach their 70s, the second neighbor may be receiving a substantially larger monthly benefit, simply because of the timing of the original decision. That difference continues every month for the rest of their lives. Over 10, 15, or even 20 years of retirement, the total amount can become significant. Now, this does not mean delaying benefits is automatically the right choice for everyone. Far from it. Health concerns, employment, family circumstances, financial needs, and life expectancy all play important roles in determining the best strategy. The point is not that everyone should delay. The point is that everyone deserves to understand the consequences before making a permanent decision. One area where retirees often become surprised involves people who claimed benefits early and later realized they may have acted too quickly. Many assume that once benefits begin, nothing can ever be changed. In most situations, retirement decisions are indeed intended to be permanent. However, under certain circumstances, federal rules allow an individual who recently filed for retirement benefits to request withdrawal of that application. This is commonly associated with Form SSA-521, the request for withdrawal of application. The opportunity is limited and subject to specific requirements. For many applicants, the request generally must be made within 12 months of first becoming entitled to retirement benefits, and other conditions may apply, including repayment of benefits already received if the withdrawal is approved. Because these rules can be complicated, anyone considering this option should discuss their individual circumstances directly with the Social Security Administration before making any decisions. Let me share another example. We'll call him James. James retired shortly after his 62nd birthday. He had worked hard for more than 4 decades and felt ready to enjoy retirement. Friends told him there was no reason to wait because you never know what tomorrow brings. That advice sounded reasonable. He completed his application and began receiving monthly benefits. About 8 months later, James met with a financial planner while reviewing his retirement savings. During the conversation, they discussed his Social Security filing date. The planner explained how delayed retirement credits worked and asked whether James had considered waiting. James admitted he hadn't even known delaying benefits could increase his monthly payment. More importantly, he had no idea there was a limited period during which some applicants could explore withdrawing an application if they met the legal requirements. Because James was still within the applicable timeframe, he contacted Social Security to understand his options. After learning about the repayment requirement and reviewing his overall financial picture, he was able to make an informed decision based on accurate information rather than assumptions. Whether or not withdrawal makes sense depends entirely on the individual. For some retirees, repaying previously received benefits would simply not be practical. Others may determine that their health or financial circumstance. The program is called Supplemental Security Income, more commonly known as SSI. Although it is administered by the Social Security Administration, it is not the same thing as Social Security retirement benefits. That distinction is one of the biggest reasons so many eligible seniors never apply. People often hear the words Social Security and assume every federal retirement payment comes from one program with one application. In reality, these are separate programs created under different sections of federal law, with different eligibility rules, different payment calculations, and different application requirements. Social Security retirement benefits are generally based on your work history and the payroll taxes you paid during your working years. Supplemental Security Income, on the other hand, is designed to provide financial assistance to older adults and individuals with disabilities who have limited income and limited financial resources. Because the programs serve different purposes, qualifying for one does not automatically mean you have been evaluated for the other. That surprises many retirees. Some believe that once they started receiving Social Security, the government automatically determined whether they qualified for every available federal benefit. Unfortunately, that assumption has left many eligible seniors without assistance they may have qualified to receive. Let's look at an example. We'll call her Helen. Helen is 73 years old. She worked intermittently throughout her life while raising 4 children. After her husband passed away, she relied primarily on her modest Social Security retirement benefit. She owned very little beyond her home, drove an older vehicle, and carefully budgeted every dollar. Each month she found herself making difficult choices. Should she refill every prescription? Should she postpone dental work again? Could she afford rising utility bills during the summer? Like many seniors, Helen assumed her Social Security payment represented everything the federal government offered. After all, she had already completed an application years earlier. She never imagined there might be another program requiring a separate application. One afternoon, she attended a free community seminar at her local senior center. The speaker briefly mentioned Supplemental Security Income and encouraged attendees with limited income to ask whether they might qualify. Helen almost ignored the suggestion. She believed the program probably applied only to younger people with disabilities. Still, she decided to ask a representative during a later appointment with the Social Security Administration. After reviewing her financial circumstances, the representative explained that she should complete an SSI application so her eligibility could be formally evaluated. Now, every case is different. Not everyone who applies qualifies. Income, resources, living arrangements, and several other factors all affect eligibility. But Helen later told friends something she wished someone had explained years earlier. "I never knew I needed to ask." That single sentence captures the experience of countless retirees. The issue is often not unwillingness. It is lack of awareness. Many seniors simply do not know another application even exists. Another common misunderstanding involves assets. Some retirees immediately assume they earn too much or own too much to qualify. Others assume the opposite and believe approval is guaranteed. Neither assumption is helpful. SSI has detailed financial rules, and eligibility depends on individual circumstances. That is why asking for an official determination is so important. Let the agency review your situation rather than eliminating yourself based on guesswork. you may discover you do not qualify. If so, at least you know with certainty. On the other hand, you may discover assistance was available all along. There is another important timing issue with SSI that deserves attention. Unlike certain Social Security benefits that may allow limited retroactive payments under specific circumstances, SSI generally begins no earlier than the month after a proper application is filed, assuming eligibility requirements are met. In practical terms, this means waiting to apply can result in permanently missed months of potential benefits. If someone qualifies today but delays filing for several months simply because they did not realize the program existed, those missed months generally cannot be recovered later. That is why learning about the program early matters. Every month has value. Many retirees postpone asking questions because they believe they will look into it next year. Unfortunately, retirement has a way of making time pass quickly. 1 month becomes 6 months become 2 years. Before long, opportunities that once existed have quietly disappeared. I often encourage retirees to think about benefit. Now let's put everything we've discussed into a practical action plan. Information is only useful if you know what to do with it. By this point, you've heard about several benefit categories that many retirees overlook. You may already be wondering whether any of them apply to you, your spouse, or another member of your family. The good news is that you do not have to memorize every regulation or become an expert in Social Security law. What matters most is approaching the process in an organized way. The first step is to gather your records before you contact the Social Security Administration. Many people call without having any documents nearby. When the representative asks for dates, benefit information, or previous filing history, they are forced to guess. Guessing often leads to confusion. Instead, set aside a few minutes to collect everything in one place. Have your most recent Social Security benefit statement available. If you are married, have your spouse's Social Security information nearby as well. If you are widowed, gather your late spouse's information along with your marriage certificate and any documents relating to your spouse's passing that may be needed during a benefits review. If you have previously received letters from the Social Security Administration regarding your retirement benefits, keep those together as well. Being organized helps the conversation move much more smoothly. The second step is to request a complete review of your current benefits rather than simply asking what your monthly payment is. Those are two very different conversations. Many retirees call simply to verify the amount they are receiving. Instead, consider asking whether your record has been reviewed for every benefit category that may apply based on your personal circumstances. If you are married, ask whether spousal benefits have been evaluated. If you are widowed, ask whether survivor benefits have been compared with your current retirement benefit. If your financial situation has changed significantly since retirement, ask whether there are any additional programs you should be aware of. The goal is not to assume you qualify. The goal is to make sure nothing has been overlooked. The third step is something that many people never think about. Keep written notes. Whenever you speak with the Social Security Administration, write down the date of the conversation, the time, and, if available, the name of the representative you spoke with. Briefly summarize the information that was discussed. If additional documents are requested, write down exactly what you were told to provide. If another appointment is recommended, record that as well. These notes can become extremely valuable if you need to follow up later or if you speak with a different representative. Good records help eliminate confusion and ensure important details are not forgotten. The fourth step is to ask questions without feeling embarrassed. This may sound simple, but many retirees hesitate because they worry their questions are too basic. Please don't let that stop you. The Social Security system contains hundreds of rules, exceptions, and filing requirements. No one should expect the average retiree to know every detail. Questions are part of the process. If something is unclear, ask for an explanation. If a benefit calculation does not make sense, ask how it was determined. If you hear a term you do not recognize, ask the representative to explain it in plain language. Understanding your benefits is far more important than pretending to understand something that remains confusing. The fifth and final step is to review your benefits periodically, rather than assuming the decision made years ago will always remain the best one. Life changes. A spouse retires. A spouse passes away. Household income changes. Federal laws are occasionally updated. While not every life event changes benefit eligibility, some certainly can. Reviewing your situation from time to time helps ensure your records remain accurate and that you understand any options available to you. Before we finish, I want to address one final misconception. Some people believe that if they have already been receiving Social Security for several years, there is no reason to review their benefits because any opportunity to make changes has already passed. That is not always true. Certain options are indeed subject to strict deadlines. Others depend on changes in personal circumstances. Still others simply require asking the right questions so that your current eligibility can be properly evaluated. The important point is this: do not assume. Verify. A short conversation today may answer questions that have been lingering in the back of your mind for years. If everything is already correct, that is excellent news. You can move forward with confidence knowing your benefits have been reviewed.